Welcome back to The World Tonight. Americans and tens of thousands of Afghans are waiting to evacuate the country. They face several enemies like the Taliban, terrorist groups, and time. For many, time is of the essence, and time to get out is running out. Mariam Atash knows what people in Kabul are facing, and she also knows what's happening throughout the entire region of Afghanistan. She's an American, an attorney, and a member of the US-Afghan Women's Council. She joins us now from Los Angeles to discuss her concerns for the future of the Afghan people. And Mariam, the US-Afghan Women's Council was created in order to help the Afghan people, particularly women and girls, become successful in life. And now in these difficult and dangerous times, what is the council able to do to help the women get out of the country?
You know, Kelly, it's been something I don't think any of the council members ever expected. We started in 2004, and it was a network of women that continued to do their projects no matter what administration came in. And they had been making a lot of progress. The Afghan women were making huge progress in their fields, from being government leaders, entrepreneurs. They were making strides in entertainment. And all of a sudden, this withdrawal came in a way that no one was expecting. The security situation deteriorated, and the US did not change its course. And basically, council members, we have been in touch through that network almost every day. People are posting what they're doing. They're speaking on media that this is the wrong course of action, not just for Afghan women, but for American national security. And each organization has become almost like a rescue organization for the women that they're working with. As an African American woman, I'm just so disappointed to see that the country is going to lose so many bright women who were the leaders, and that doesn't help, govern that country in the future. But I am concerned today. I have been on email, on phone all week, trying to also help Afghan women, Afghan men who are human rights defenders, people who had SIV, which was a special immigrant visa for interpreters, and people who work for the American military. We have a network of volunteers, of veterans trying to save these people. And we still have American citizens that are still trapped in Afghanistan who want to leave because they believe the security situation will only get worse.
And the situation seems to be getting worse. Secretary of State Tony Blinken talking about that today when he watched what was happening last week and saw that an interpreter or a translator, an Afghan translator, had lost his 2-year-old child who was trampled by so many people trying to get into the Kabul airport, that it was like a gut punch to him. But Mariam, this is a greater gut punch to you and so many women, Afghan women, who have worked in harm's way to help Afghan women grow stronger and have brighter futures. What are you hearing from the women on the ground in terms of what kind of gut punches they're experiencing, knowing that they may not be able to leave the country?
Well, there's different, reactions. Some women feel very at risk. They feel that they're being targeted, and it's happening. The Taliban, when they first started coming back in, which the Afghan people see as a proxy of Pakistan, they don't see them. Nobody voted for the Taliban here. They came through use of force, supported by the Pakistani government. And so on the anniversary of 9/11, we are going to have the Taliban, who were kind of gifted the control of the Afghan government by our government. I think that's what's very troubling. In the middle, we are going to have women who are going to suffer even more, because just in the last week, at first I thought, okay, at least there was not a lot of killing in Kabul. Perhaps they're waiting for the US to withdraw all of its remaining forces, and the restrictions have already started. Women that I'm working with say that they can't leave without like an escort, chaperone, the same things they were doing 20 years ago. And so many women are in hiding. They're waiting to try to get on these charter flights. It feels very like a desperate situation. And the only hope I have is these veterans groups and American and Afghan volunteers who are volunteering to help take refugees into their homes, to have a platform, have a voice to say what is happening is wrong. This was a partnership. Afghans did not see the Americans as occupiers. They saw Al Qaeda and the Taliban as the problem, as the terrorist groups. And all of a sudden, the way the US left is not good for our people. And that's what I want your audience to know, because President Biden said something that was very troubling in his last press conference. He said, oh, well, the Afghan people just didn't want to fight for their country. That's absolutely false. There have been more casualties on the Afghan side, and American forces know this. The veterans are speaking up saying this is a wrong statement to make. You basically abandon Afghanistan in the way it was done, leaving a base in the middle of the night with no notice. I mean, I just don't see how this administration handled things this way. And now what we still have American citizens. As an attorney, I have some clients that are American citizens stuck there, and we're trying every means. We send information to the US Embassy, they're told to be at a certain location, and then no one from the American embassy is there. And so, Kelly, people are getting exposed. They're going to these locations thinking that they'll go to the airport, they don't get in. And unprecedented situation. I never thought this could be the way the US story after 20 years would be. And so, like I said, the only hope I have is volunteers who care, people who worked as diplomats, aid workers, and our veterans. And I think within the African American community, we've had a lot of people, maybe viewers that served in Afghanistan. So they know that the Afghan people wanted the US there, and they were working to be able to stand on their own feet. But now they've just been abandoned.
And what can the community of veterans, the African American veterans, do who have fought there in Afghanistan? They know the plight of the people there and can relate to what they're going through in terms of being treated like a minority and then marginalized, knowing that the Taliban will come in and use a repressive regime to rule in an authoritarian way.
Well, I think the veterans who served, they sacrificed for the concept that, look, we went into Afghanistan to get rid of terrorist groups who were responsible directly, indirectly for the attacks on our country on 9/11. And arguably that was done in about 2010 or whenever Osama bin Laden was captured, which was in Pakistan, not Afghanistan. But our government never dealt with the Pakistan issue. We allowed the Pakistani government to house, support, whatever you want to call it. They were there on their side of the border. They kept attacking Afghan civilians, the actual US Army troops and Afghan troops with IED attacks, which was quite deadly. And that's what kind of bled this conflict out. But the Afghans were progressing. They were making a lot of progress with their security on their own. And what I want your viewers to know, Kelly, and then I'll tie into how the veterans can help, or anybody who's watching, because this will affect your security. It may be something that seems like it's somewhere far away. How can this affect me? But as someone who has seen the historic cycle just now twice in my life, from having come as a refugee from the Soviet invasion and then being able to go back for the first time to that country after 9/11, this is like another one of those historic times. And what I would say is that people should reach their congressional representatives and say, we should extend this August 31st deadline. First, this will affect American citizens, our Afghan allies. We cannot abandon them there. We can have loss of life. People are panicking. This is really unfair. We are going to lose trust in allies in the future. So that is necessary to protect Americans and Afghans who are our partners. Secondly, I think that we should help provide support for refugees, just like Airbnb is doing. There's going to be a refugee population coming into the US because they were affected by this conflict. And I think just those two simple things, I know it's difficult for people to get involved, but veterans, because they were there, the one thing they realize is the weapons and assets are now in the hands of the Taliban. And I think the veterans knew the scope and scale of what was going on there. We did not have to leave like this. I mean, it wasn't, your viewers should also know, it wasn't, a large troop presence. We went from 98,000 at the height during the Obama years in about 2011.
Right.
We only had about 2,500 troops, and they were training Afghan troops. So it was finished.
Mariam, I want to thank you.
Yes.
I can see your passion. I know how your heartbroken, but I want to thank you for joining us tonight and weighing in on this important issue. Mariam Atash, an Afghan American woman, an attorney who represents the U.S. Afghan Women's Council. We thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back right after this.